Hi everyone. I'm very happy to be here today in conversation with someone very special. We have Dr. Aruna who has written this amazing new book, I Want a Boy, and I'm stunned by how honest and powerful it is. Uh, I'm Anuja Chandramouli. I have authored 13 books in the Indian mythology, historical fiction, and fantasy genres. Now, let me tell you about Dr. Aruna. She's an eminent obstetrician, gynecologist, and laparoscopic and robotic surgeon who has a rich experience of 25 years working both in a high end corporate hospital, where she's presently the HOD, and in busy government hospitals. Besides being a scarless laparoscopic and robotic surgeon, she's a mother of two grown up children. She's also a Kathak dancer and finds time for a daily dose of fitness. So overachiever alert, and I'm very happy to talk with her today. So over to Dr. Aruna. Let me begin our Q&A session. So, Doctor, I was stunned by how honest you were about an issue that really needs to be talked about, but which we tend to look the other way when this comes up, and that is about wanting a boy over a girl. And I have two little girls, and guess I'm privileged because honestly nobody harassed me or anything. But my gynae, I remember when I delivered my second daughter, my gynae was so scared that I'll pitch a fit or something. It's something you've written in the book about how the gynecologist will come and say, you've given birth to goddess Lakshmi, to just put a positive spin. So I was used to it. For my first daughter, she said the same. For the second one, I said, okay, can I hold my baby? And I think she was scared I'll do something crazy because she was like, sedate her, sedate her. And next second, I'd passed out. And when I woke up, I realized I was asking her, what the hell? And she said, see, in the next room, we have a patient. She had also delivered a girl baby for the second time. And her in laws apparently, they just walked out and they told her, don't come home. And that poor girl was crying. So they said, we weren't sure how you are going to react, which is why I was fortunate. I didn't have any such issues. But it's something all of us can relate to, especially girl mommies. You have a girl daughter too. You mentioned that in the book. So can you just tell us your take on what is the solution to this horrible problem we have in India?
Thank you very much, first of all, for giving me this platform. And the book which I have written is again, as you are describing your own experience. Uh, every time when I delivered a girl child, whether it was their first child or whether it was their second or third, uh, even when it was their first girl child, there would be that enthusiasm would not be there. Like just now, I've come from labor room just now, and it was first daughter, and the father. As soon as mother asked, "What is it? What is it?" I said, uh, "It's a daughter," and it was not that like exciting voice in father's thing. It didn't sound very exciting, but at the same time, because these young couples are educated, um, I think very next call when he did his, I guess, mother-in-law or everybody, he was okay, and he actually immediately switched that it's okay, daughter is okay. So the first impression or first expression is that okay, it's daughter, not son. But then immediately educated people who have good companionship between them, and girl is also educated, and orthodox mindset is not pressurizing them too much, they start celebrating. But same we cannot say for people who are uh, from lower socioeconomic status or uneducated class. And I think 90% of India uh, is, I would say, have this kind of orthodox mindset, whether they are rich or not so rich. And the wish or want for boy is everywhere. So the book was also written because every day, if I was delivering once upon a time 40 or 60 deliveries a day, and now some 5 6 deliveries. This was constantly there, constantly. This want was there, or I was seeing everywhere around, and it was hammering in my on my in my brain. I could not sleep whenever I was walking, whenever I was breathing. I was always thinking about why boy, why everybody wants a boy. Now this girl would suffer because she did not deliver a boy. So at one point, I was keeping fast for my patients that they should deliver boy because they are suffering so much. So you know that the change is, I guess, key is education. Definitely, girls should be educated, boys should be educated. They should have good companionship, and girls should start earning for themselves. I think that would definitely bring a change.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think financial independence would give girls the freedom to make choices which suit them, I guess. And yes, of course, the education thing which you mentioned. Now, there was another line which really left an impact. I mean, the book was hard hitting, but this line, you very honestly said that I'm just paraphrasing over here. I think you said that we either need to expand hospital facilities, or we need to bring down the population in India. We need to stop popping out babies by the dozen. And I'm so glad you put it out there openly, because you have credibility as a doctor when you say that people are bound to listen. And there was a very interesting case you mentioned about this woman who was toothless with gray hair, and she was, when you asked her her age, she said she was 30 and she'd had 8 children already, and she refused to sign the form for sterilization. And it brought back memories for me also, because I had 2 C-sections, and after my second girl was born, I decided that I'll have only 2 children. I won't have any more. So I was talking to my gynecologist about it. I said I wanted to do a tubectomy, and she refused. She said, "You're being hasty. I want you to wait. You'll definitely come crawling back. You'll say you want a boy. You'll say this, that." I said, "No, no, no. I'm very clear about this. Boy or girl, no, I won't have number three." So, I had to literally fight with her to get her to do the procedure because it was a C section. I said, "Anyway, you're in there. The only good thing is you can do this procedure also." And finally, she told me, "Your husband has to sign." And I was so angry. I was thinking it's my body, my choice. But she was very insistent. She told me, when we are in surgery, one nurse will go to get the sign from your husband. Only then will I proceed. So I was thinking, I wanted to ask you that is, what are the rules for this? Why is it so hard to get the sterilization done in India, especially among the poorer classes of society, because they barely have enough to keep body and soul together. And having like the case you mentioned, 8 children by the age of 30, and they don't really have the resources mentally, physically, it must be a nightmare. I can't even imagine. So what is the procedure for getting this thing done in India, and why is it so hard? Why are we not, having vending machines which, spew out condoms? And why aren't we talking about this? Because it's needed. Our population is, there are so many
Mm,
COVID cases also.
exploding, exploding.
Yeah, yeah, but in India, we still feel no, no, no. God will take care of the rest. You just have children, it will fix your marriage, it will fix your life. But that's not the truth, right?
It's not a truth. So, in government hospital, when you read this book, you must have seen that whenever we came to duty at around 9 o'clock till night and all, I don't know. I have written like from where this population was coming. Where is that hole from where they pop up? These girls are every day. OPD is 500, deliveries are hundreds, or the whole ward is full. And it is how actually I was not able to understand which factory is producing so much and so fast. And not only in our hospital, every hospital was flooded with patients, was flooded with every minute. And I've written that it might be here only that every minute a girl, another girl, every lady is delivering. So this was one, and they do not have any right of contraception. So there was another ward where these girls would come like girls who would want to go for abortion and they don't have means for safe abortion, and they would go to some quack, they would give them some tablets or try some heroic measures in their uterus, and then they would come with all the complications, and we would correct it, abort their half aborted child, or correct everything. Or sometimes they would come voluntarily for abortion. And then what we would do, like after abortion, we would get their sign and put copper T or loop inside the uterus. Because some girls had three, four, five. Uh, so we will just sign, and sometimes out of this thing, we just put the copper T. It's like, okay, she has five children. Let insert copper T. Or sometimes we would definitely, many times, consent is absolutely required, and it was forceful from our because we were resident and we were trying to actually implement this, or forcefully ask them, you have to get property, otherwise we will not do your abortion. So after putting coffee, they would go out after getting it inserted, and there is a guy sitting outside the hospital in some makeshift kind of tent. She would ask, and she is just charging 50 rupees, and she'll pull every property out. So here in government hospital, this is such a costly thing. We are trying to convince them and give them a contraceptive method because they themselves have come for abortion and they didn't want. But contraception, if you ask them, either they have all the myths associated with it, that this contraception either make them weak, or would cause heavy bleeding, or extra or whatever XYZ complication, but they would not keep the loop. And they'll go to that dye, she'll take 50 rupees, remove that property, and again they would come. And the sterilization thing is absolutely, it's so difficult to convince them. They would lose their youth, they would be osteoporotic, they would have all ill health, anemia, uterus would be prolapsed, hanging outside, but they do not have right to get sterilization done. Otherwise, they would be thrown out of the house if they get to know. And they do. So this is the pathetic state. And contraceptive, as you said, yes, we need to teach our youth, whether it's educated, whether it's uneducated, even educated class. You would be surprised to know that these girls and boys, they don't use condoms, and then they think that emergency contraceptive pill is the solution. They keep popping emergency contraceptive pill, four or five in every month, and then they come either with intrauterine pregnancy or with fallopian tube pregnancy, and we have to sometimes sacrifice their fallopian tubes, or in legal abortions, they would go to chemist shop and they would ask. So contraception, if we ask them that, okay, oral contraceptive pills are safe, or loop is safe, or other things are safe, but they would not go for it. For them, emergency contraceptive pill is still safer because it is sold on social media, on TV, on everywhere. But they would not go for condom or safer method of contraception. Very few percentage of girls now are coming, and uh, uh, I would say that I welcome them, I appreciate them, I actually tell them that it's a very good step that a 16 or 17 or 18-year-old girl is coming and telling that I'm sexually active for 6 months and I need a contraception. It's so brave of her, it's so intelligent and wise of her, that if she's 16 or 17, at least she knows that she needs a contraception. And you are mother of two, three, and you are not going for contraception. This is not like how stupid anybody can be. If you are sleeping with your husband, if you think that only praying would protect you from pregnancy, and then you come back for with complicated pregnancies or septic abortions, that's not right.
It's like it's like a horror show when you describe some of the insane stuff people do. And you mentioned that men aren't willing to use condoms, even educated men. This was something my gynecologist and I spoke about after, my first baby. Since it was a C-section, she told me, you better not show up here for at least 2 years. and she wanted to talk about contraceptives with me. I said, we're going to opt for a condom. She said, I'll give full credit to your husband. I said, why would the hell would you do that? It's the least he can do. And I'm the one who had a C-section. And she said, easy for you to say. You have no idea how men are. They don't cooperate. Somehow, all this, your reproductive health, somehow it's entirely up to the woman. And in your book also, since we've been talking about sterilization and stuff, I noticed that you mentioned that you have a lot of patients who've come who've undergone a battery of painful invasive procedures to somehow get pregnant. But the thing is, sometimes the problem is, if all the tests read normal for the girl, then the husband should take the test. In some cases, men refuse to be tested. In some cases, you used a medical term which I don't remember, something to do with low sperm motility.
Yeah,
So it's
azoosperm, yeah,
clear.
no sperm. Huh?
Yes, yes. So, you have these poor, desperate mothers. I don't understand why. See, you've also mentioned that the Y chromosome is carried by the men. So, women are not exactly responsible for determining the sex of the baby. And sometimes, when men don't cooperate, when they refuse to take fertility, enhancing procedures, whatever, things like impotency, erectile dysfunction, male low sperm motility, all these things, for some reason, we just don't talk about it. We are so protective about the male ego, and that is so dangerous. These women end up in such abusive situations. I saw your book and my heart broke. So how do we get, why don't we just normalize, how do we make it possible to normalize things like infertility and impotence and all that? I'm sure it is so common.
Yeah, it is common. And again, as you said that uh, men would not come. First thing is they would not even come for for consultation. It's only female's responsibility. She would go and get all those same tests repeatedly, even if she knows that every test was normal last year. Again, she would go for it. And because see, she first thing is that uh, and you would be surprised when they come to OPD, they would be blaming themselves. The first thing would be, my periods are not good. I do not get enough periods. They are only for 2 days, or they are not regular. And when you ask, what do you mean by regular? How regular are your periods? So sometimes they come in 27 days, sometimes they come in 30 days. I said, this is called regular. What do you mean that this is not regular? And then flow is not good. So they would think that any little deviation in period cycle, they are to be blamed that periods are not regular and that's why they are not able to conceive. Or sometimes like semen comes out, the whole semen would come out and it doesn't retain in my vagina. And when you ask that it's been 2 years, 3 years, or so many years, where is your husband's sperm count? Sometimes it is never done uh, because he is performing his duty, or he's having good sex. Uh, uh, he They think that that is it. If somebody is able to perform sex normally, it means that he has sperms. It is absolutely not right. So erection and able to perform sex is one thing, and not having sperm at all uh, can still be there even if you're able to perform sex properly. Okay, so they think that this is not possible. Like this is absolutely how it can be if they are having good. So husband has never seen shown to the doctor. We have never seen him in our OPD. So first thing is to convince them that you have to bring the husband. And if by any chance your husband is a little cooperative or something, if he comes and sperm count is low, they would not take tablets. They would not change their habits like smoking. If we tell that smoking or bidi or hookah is causing this, they would never do that or never quit that. If And in my story also, if you ask them that you do not have enough sperm count and the treatment is simple, like you can always instill donor sperm and she would be pregnant. See, sometimes on our face they would just listen to us, but they would never accept that. That again hurts their male ego. That and they would not accept that child because it's not their own uh, gene, genetic material. So, and the whole, and then they would keep quiet, even if they know that they are at fault. They would not tell their families, and families are always abusive to this lady, and they would not tell the family that it is not her fault. Do not say anything to her. So this is a quite a vicious cycle, and she just wants, and that is why she would. And these ladies or these patients are so naive. When they come with all these reports, they would keep it secret, as if like we would anyway get to that point that where is your husband's this thing, and they would be keeping quiet, and they would be keeping it secret that okay, at least this doctor might be having some treatment, and they would not tell. So it is so this thing, and yes, we try to protect. And nowadays, when I see the good educated people have boys, if they are not able to perform, or if they have some kind of male fertility problem, uh, one thing is boys are also not taking it supportively, or they they actually go into depression. They start feeling, and uh, I think this is a disease. Okay, it is an illness. If I have a fever, I would not start, or if my husband is having fever, I would not start hating him or looking down upon him that he has fever. It's just the same thing. If he has some kind of this problem for impotency, or sperm count is low or anything, uh, I think both sides have to be blamed. Like educated people, sometimes girls also, they become very offensive, or they start looking down upon them. They hurt their ego, or they hurt them that you are not man enough, or uh, you should
Hmm.
not, like, you cannot do this insult to injury every time when you have fight, that you are not man enough, you are not this thing. They are already see, for a man, this is a big thing, and if you keep reminding or keep insulting, that also is not right. Then it is not going to do any help to him. So it is just as if like if I am having fibroid or endometriosis, and if somebody keep telling me that because of your fibroid or endometriosis you are not able to conceive, and you are you're not fertile and all, you, which is the same thing, you cannot tell to boys. So in educated class, this is the problem. They start blaming, and then they start fighting, and they hurt each other at that point, which is not right. So this is a disease. You should, as as my husband or my family would take me to the doctor gynecologist to get fibroid corrected, or system the ovary corrected, same way we should take our male partner to doctor, and whatever is the problem, it is corrected. Most of the time, it can be corrected.
Oh, I like how you put it, where you said it's like having a fever or some other physical ailment, and you can just fix it with medicine or lifestyle choices, something. And we really need to be a bit more sensible and sensitive. I loved how you put that. And I hope people are listening to Dr. Anu here. You really need to listen to all these people. And my next question, I was really shocked when I read about some of the drastic measures people take to deal with this problem. We all know about female infanticide, of course, about how they do sex selective abortions. You mentioned that, but there was another thing you mentioned about. I've also heard about mothers who, feed their newborns a few grains of rice, or maybe they crush oleander plants and put that sap in the baby's mouth to kill it. And in your book also, you've described, you people will have to read the book. I'm not going to give spoilers here, but she's described some truly horrific ways in which mothers are, so desperate, because they everyone blames the mother. It's always the mother's fault, so they do drastic things uh, to be spared the fate which awaits them for having another girl. So I wanted to ask you about see, legally it's wrong. You're not supposed to even know the gender of your child in India, but practically it's not happening. There seems to be no legal protection for these precious girl babies. What are the checks and balances that are there, which we can enforce both at a legal level and at a practical level? How do we stop this evil? Because I had tears in my eyes when I read some of the things doctor has described so powerfully in her book.
See, the thing is that there are many laws in India. Okay, law is there for everything. Implementation is the problem. People who are lawmakers, or who people who have to implement it, uh, I have not that no. So we, what we say, politicians, police. We are the people who make the law, and we have to implement. But when you see these people, when you meet these people as families, as patients, you would be surprised that they themselves want boy. They themselves are uh, they have this kind of desire, and even after knowing that this there is a law which says that which is against, but if if see, the mindset is there, okay, it is not about whether, I have seen very uneducated class, or who cannot afford much, are okay with two girls or three girls, okay, and I've seen very rich people who are uh, at a very high post, but still they would go any measure to have a boy. uh, and again here, what you asked me, that how, what can we do legally, or how can we stop, we cannot. You have, it has to come from within. See, I cannot ask, if some politician's daughter or son is sitting in front of me and they are asking that they want a baby boy, and they want to abort it, do you know where exactly? Or if they know themselves, they would go and then they would come back and tell, okay, now next, what next, we have done this. You know that they are so powerful, they themselves are doing that. This is the mindset. They are, one, they are so powerful, another, they are so rich, they own the entire city or whatever, but still they have this desire, and they are going every length and breadth to achieve that, okay. So it is not about making law, it is about, or and implementation definitely is required, and they are raiding clinics, and they are going and doing uh, everything to stop this. So they are putting doctors also behind the bar. But why this thing is that, okay, if a doctor who's doing ultrasound, and in one day she did 10 ultrasound, and there were four daughters and six sons, and she actually disclosed it. She has told everybody that you have a daughter and you have a son. Now it becomes very difficult for government to trace that whether those four girls were delivered or not, or who killed those. Like, if they were four girls at the fifth month, or 20 weeks ultrasound, I am telling everybody, or say seventh month ultrasound, I am telling that, okay, you have a daughter. If at 7 months I'm disclosing that she has a daughter, then she would deliver, isn't it? Seventh month, how would it be killed, or preterm labor? Everything is going good. But if those four girls are not delivered after 2 months, then isn't it government's duty to catch hold of those couples or those families who killed the daughter? Uh, if they are catching hold of doctor, that because you have disclosed, and then you should be put behind the bar, but definitely PCP and DT Act says that sex determination is crime. So because of that law, we should actually not disclose it. But doctors doing, if somebody is disclosing, is wrong by the law, okay. But people who are actually killing their daughters, they should be put behind the bar. They are escaping, they, nobody is doing anything. Those four girls, if out of those four, two girls are killed, whose responsibility is this? It's not doctor's responsibility. The mindset of those people was not right, and they would kill anyways if I would not tell that it was daughter and she was delivered after 9 months. They might bury the live child. They might kill. They might wrap that girl child in wet blanket and keep it and starve her, and in that way, she would be killed. So they can kill in so many ways, isn't it? So whether you, it's a whole mindset has to be changed. Mindset would change only if our girls are protected. They are not raped. They are not molested. They are given proper education. And even after educating their girls, if parents have to give dowry or the other party would ask, groom's party would ask that how much money you are going to spend in your daughter's marriage, it is then why would anybody want a daughter? Or if your my wife or his wife like is sick or ill or needs hospital admission and operation, brother is called to donate blood or brother is called to give money for the hospital expenses. Why would anybody want daughter? She's like for whole life she is your liability. She's burden on you. She's burden on her brother. So if all these kinds, so the correction has to brought from grassroots level. Mindset has to be changed. Girls should be educated. They should earn. We should give actually uh, uh, equal right to property, and that too. There is a law, but you all see even before will is made, you have everything. You have put it under your son's name. So now nothing is on your name. So how can daughter claim anything? So there, so we know how to bend the law. I can go on and on. I'm so frustrated with this.
But I've always wondered about why we have such a false notion that girls are a burden. I think girls value freedom. Why would we want our daddy or our brother or our husband or our son to take care of us? We can take care of ourselves, right? I mean, just give us an education which everyone is entitled to, and we can make our own way in the world, right? We see examples of women shining in their chosen fields. We have you as an example. You have your Sakshi Malik. Every time somebody wins an Olympic medal alone, everyone will say, "Ah, the daughters of India." But if these same daughters ask, "Can I please walk around in India without putting myself at risk of gang rape and murder?" Somehow, that time you're not a daughter or a goddess or anything, So I just don't get it. And folks always say that girls are loving, whereas boys, once they get married, they don't care about you. That all that talk is there. They need girls to help out, but I don't know. We still think of girls as a burden. Like you mentioned, we really need to change that mindset. So
Yes.
just to move on, you mentioned, I loved reading about the nuts and bolts of the medical profession. It was very eye opening. My best friend is also a gynecologist, and every time, I mean, I used to crib about my experience with my C sections, and she'll always scold me. She'll say, "You don't understand the kind of pressure gynecologists are under." And, I could get a bird's eye view here. I could see what she meant because you are on call 24/7, because I don't think babies care about the doctor's sleep schedule or anything. They just pop up anytime. So the way you talked about the many things you were juggling throughout your life as a gynecologist, as a medical student, and you mentioned that whether it's a government hospital or private institution, uh, it tends to be understaffed. And I remember you mentioned this particular thing: when the night shift ends and when the day shift is going to begin, it's sort of like that, very it's the worst time for a mother to go into
Anybody.
labor, because if the one set is exhausted, the other set has just finished sending their children to school, they finished all their household chores, they just want a cup of chai and they want to just catch their breath. So nobody wants to be, rushed, put in an emergency situation. And I had an elective C-section. My gynecologist insisted, by the way, because my first baby was breached. And I was so mad at her for not even attempting a vaginal birth. So now I'm very grateful to my gynecologist because she was very firm with me. She said, I'm the doctor. I know what I'm doing. You just do as you're told. So I was grateful, thinking that at least for the C-section, everyone, I mean, if you've planned it, the anesthetist is there, the blood is there, the pediatrician was there. You mentioned how sometimes when you just show up, it's like so many things can go wrong. It has all the elements of a thriller, by the way, when you read this book. It was like I was sitting at the edge of my seat because some of these cases are so terrifying, and I can't believe you deal with this on a daily basis. And so how and it was very brave of you, by the way. You mentioned that the quota system is not ideal, and I agree with you 100%, because I feel that we simply cannot afford to be gambling like this, where our doctors are concerned. Doctors are the pillars of society, and you mentioned how painful it was for you as well as your daughter, because it was a struggle. I remember, I mean, you mentioned that the postman just threw that brown slip saying that
Mm.
you got your admission, and it could have just flown away and just disappeared with the garbage. It came down to chance like that. So, I mean, it was quite, intimidating for me to read that, you almost missed out on being notified that you made it, that you are going to be a doctor. So, with this quota system thing, how do we focus on a merit based system where we can have qualified doctors who are paid well and who have reasonable working hours, just so medical blunders can be avoided?
So there's so many things that you. I'm so glad that you read everything in between the lines. That so this poster, this slip, when it came, and it was actually meant to be flown away only. It was my luck. I think God was with me. Otherwise, what they do is, like, in the merit list, when you are on waiting, and uh, some of dean or principal or anybody who's influential, whose candidate is on waiting list, so they have to inform the initial first two three, whoever is there. Like, say, if my candidate is on fifth waiting list, but he cannot, only there are only two seats, so first two three four, they have to anyway intimate that by postal system during those days. And they would post in a way that they should not get first four. So the fifth one is automatically eligible, because they have sent the mail by post, and within a week of sending post, nobody came. Nobody actually came for their rightful seat. So now they can actually shift it to, or give it to the other next candidate in line. So yes, they could have done that, and that was the intent, that I have given this information. I have posted. This girl did not. She never reverted back. But anyway, so that candidate did not get, and I got, because it was meant to be mine. Is one. Second thing, when you said that, uh, see, duties are so hectic, and hospital is, you are burdened or overburdened, or the over is never ending. You are having patients, and other patients are also swarming in, and duty never ends. Like, it's like only doctors would change. But then when I got my senior residency seat, I just called a person, and it was such, again, by chance or by luck, that I got this in MCD hospital. But then again, you should see in between the lines that there were so many seats vacant. Okay. But salary was given to many people in between, from up till whatever, clerk till dean or whatever. So administration department was not filling all the seats of doctors. So that is why we were working with only four doctors in a labor room, where 100 plus deliveries were happening every day. And why it was not filled? One, because general category seats were very less. So, and other category seats, people don't come most of the time if they come, okay, they get. Otherwise, keeping seats vacant is always better because all those four salaries would be distributed uh, from up till down, whatever. mm, in the administration, people are there uh, having those four or five salaries. That is why we are understaffed all the time. So many things are there in between the lines, if you read, that government system is not like it is not acting rightly, or there are so many flaws. If you see that those ayahs who they need to retire at the age of 60, 65, whatever, but because they have put their wrong age 20 years younger, they are in their 75 years or 70 years, they cannot actually pull the trolley, push the trolley, or do any other job like running around job. But they are there as a permanent employees because but natural, all these things are wrong which are happening, and only government can correct it. Or each and every person should take the responsibility to run a hospital properly. But if we are not doing our job, that is the system which is crumbling with many patients, less number of doctors, and as you said, then blunders are ought to happen. Uh, and doctors are frustrated, definitely. During those days, when I used to come home, I used to scold everyone or fight with everyone because you're so frustrated at your workplace.
Yeah, as you mentioned, even I was really stunned to read how the system works. It's such an Indian thing because because we have I think right now we must have overtaken China, highest population. So there's so little accountability in a profession that is as important as medicine. You mentioned how nurses who are not no longer up to the job are doing it, and I also read about doctors with whose hands are shaking during surgery, and the
Yeah.
interns, the residents, whoever's there, they have to keep an eye and make sure that nothing horrible happens, and the doctor takes all the credit. Zero accountability, the medical blunders. And you mentioned how it is so difficult to get blood, how men again refuse to donate blood even if their wife needs it really badly, that sometimes it's not possible to get the blood from the blood banks on time, and it's a life and death situation here. It's not a movie, it's real life. And you mentioned that there's a mistaken superstitious belief that if men give blood they lose their potency or something like that. I was quite horrified to read that so many things can go wrong, and it's a miracle if things go smoothly and the baby is delivered. Yeah, so that was quite. This book is a must read just to get an understanding of how the system works, and just to talk a little bit more about this general category and the quota system you mentioned. I think the scariest part of this is I mean, you talked about how deserving candidates often don't get the seat. They might be the top ranked student in that batch, in their class, in their university, whatever. But if they belong to the general category, it's very hard. Whereas those who have flunked and those who are the low rankers, they get placed in highly prestigious institutions. So that was very scary, and it's not something which people talk about openly because there's an instant backlash. It's such a sensitive issue. It's vote bank politics, I guess. But I thought it was very brave of you. The entire book is like that. You've kind of gone where nobody dares to go, because we shouldn't be talking about these things. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. So just look the other way, So I thought it was a very brave and brilliant effort, and I'm really glad you wrote this. So there was one more thing which you mentioned, which I wanted to talk about. This was, I think, during when you reminisced about medical college memories, and you talked about the rampant sexual harassment. There was some one case was so shocking, it made me laugh. Actually, I shouldn't have. I mean, it was that shocking and that horrifying. But Dr. Anu, you mentioned that it's commonplace, for sexual favors to be traded, to help enhance your marks, to get maybe plum surgical assignments. I think it's part of the very much a part of the game. And recently we had the horrifying case in Kolkata, which made us all, look closer at how morally bankrupt and corrupt the system is. So, how do we create a safer workplace for our doctors? Because doctors, I keep telling my friend, my bestie gynecologist friend, I keep telling her doctors have a god complex, but that's me being, annoying, me tripping on her. But I've always felt that doctors are a little different because, they handle pressures that we can't even imagine. The life and death situations you've mentioned here, to deal with it on a daily basis, it's unimaginable for us lay people. So I wanted to ask you, what would you suggest? To doctors should be paid well, they should not be senselessly overworked, and they definitely need a safe place to just do their jobs. I think all the women doctors out there are national treasures. Yeah, the men doctors also do good work, yes, but I think the ladies are special because they go through so much. And I have to say that, with women, just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you get a pass from your other responsibilities at home. Doctor has mentioned some of it in her book, like how women doctors, they juggle so many different balls at the same time. You have to be a mother, you have to be a responsible daughter-in-law. You're literally a magician, you're Wonder Woman and Supergirl rolled into one. So I just wanted to ask you for your suggestions about how we can make life easier for lady doctors and doctors in general, of course.
So first, the first thing is like support system should be really strong uh, in your family. Your mother, mother-in-law, your partner, they should understand that again, as you said, that she has to do household chores also. Hello, hello, can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes,
So
doctor, you're back.
companion should actually pitch in and do household chores along with her, and about the kids' responsibility also, packing lunch or leaving them to school, or picking them from the school, or helping them with homeworks and everything. So companion should be there. Mother-in-laws are also should understand that their daughter-in-law is working so hard, and they are mostly on night duties. And actually, as you rightly said, that we are overburdened, and we are, as soon as we reach the hospital, we just forget about everything else because there's so many patients dying and need our attention, that we don't have anything on our mind at that point of time till we are on duty. It is like we are soldiers and we have to save everybody. It is like that. So, and in the hospital also, we should understand that there should be proper bathrooms, restrooms, rooms to stretch yourself if at all you get time. We have night duties also. We have 24 hours to 36 hours duties. You just can't give us any room on any floor. Like if labor room is on the ground floor, we need a room just adjacent to labor room. But when we ask for one room for ourselves or restroom, they would give one room on fifth floor or third floor. How do you think that I would leave 40 patients in labor and would go on third floor to lie down? Or if we ask for restroom, there would be a restroom without any walls, proper walls, or it would be broken, or so it's a filthy environment. And uh, just now also when my daughter and their batchmates, they asked one room, they gave that room on third floor. And when they said that one thing, it's a the labor room is on the ground, you are giving us a room on third floor. Okay, if we even take shifts that okay, one doctor would go and stretch, but there is no fan.
Mm.
So there is no fan. So it's like now if when they ask that, ma'am, there is no fan, so she's like, you want room and you want fan also. This is too much of this thing luxury you are asking. So then this the room is of no use if you do not have fan. We sometimes stretch ourselves. You would be surprised that after 36 hours of duty, either you would fall anywhere or you would lie on the patient's bed. If there is one vacant bed, whether it's filthy bed sheet, you just cannot stand for 24 hours or so. You just cannot hold your urine for that long. You have to pee somewhere. Okay, so you would go and pee in some filthy bathroom only because there is no other restroom. So these kind of facility you have, please provide all the young doctors who are working 24/7 in government hospitals, each and every government hospital in our capital and other. Every state has almost the same state of medical colleges and medical institute and government hospitals, that doctors are not getting proper treatment, proper food, proper any conditions like normal working conditions. So I think my message to everyone, because our girls are now educated and they are working, whether it's corporate uh, uh, institutes or hospitals, we have to provide them safe environment for them to work properly. Because as and you would definitely agree to it, that females, they put 100% of their soul and heart and flesh, whatever they do. If they are at work, they would give 100% there, and if they are at home, they would give 100% at home. And we should also provide that kind of support so that they can to make their life a little easier.
So, when you mentioned about the lack of proper toilet or loo facilities for girls, I was reminded of this show I was watching, Grey's Anatomy, I think, where they wear diapers, where these two
Hmm.
surgeons, they wear adult diapers because they say, how long are we supposed to, you know, stand without actually being
Cool.
able to go to loo? So they decide to wear adult diapers and they say, see, this way we can hydrate also. It was funny, but I think, it's women are forced to improvise because they don't have a choice. And it's a vocation for a lot of doctors. Like you rightly said, you put your heart and soul into it, whether it's at home, whether it's in the hospital. And there was a very, very touching story in Dr. Anu's book, which really made an impact. You have to read the book to find out all the details, but basically it's about this doctor who actually lost her life in the line of service because she was so committed to her patients. And as doctor mentioned, nobody pays attention to the safety of the doctor, who's also a human being. And there are so many who lose their lives when they're treating, even during COVID. Dr. Anu has mentioned how many doctors were ostracized for working with COVID positive patients. They were denied food, and everyone in their apartments complained. So I think doctors are really superheroes. And Dr. Anu's book is highly recommended. I, s- uh, I suggest you all grab a copy, and I hope there are lots of readers for this book. I hope the doctor gets to go on many, many platforms because everything she says, it's like we really need to listen to her, and we really need to implement her very, very common sense filled and compassion filled solutions to some of these easily fixable problems which we are dealing with in India. So, once again, Doctor, I would like to congratulate you on your book, and I want to thank you for this really, really informative and lovely session. It was really, it's truly inspiring. I hope next generation, lots of girls who get to read your book and hear your story, I hope they are also inspired to be the best version of themselves like you. So, thank you so much again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Actually, every time you kept telling Dr. Anu, so it's like Anu in the book, but I'm Dr. Aruna otherwise.
I know. In the book, lots of them refer to you as Dr. Aruna, and Anu is what a lot of people call me also. So I was thinking she's Dr. Aruna, but in the book, so many people refer to her as Dr. Anu. And since my head is full of her book, it kept popping up.
I know. But good, good. That this was a nice discussion. Only one thing which you asked me, that I'm frustrated with the state where how this reservation thing is there, and absolutely the deserving candidates are not getting their seats. And you would be surprised again to know that there are many good institutes like AIMS and other institute where there is not even a single seat in some specialities, like in dermatology. There are three seats, one for two for OBC and one for SCST, something like that. But there is no general seat. So if in coming generations, not general category student cannot learn dermatology from AIMS because there is no seat for general category. And there are so many other branches like that. This is one of the example. The general category, they do not have even a single seat in many specialities. So that is the state where general category student, even if they get a 10th rank, they would be dropped back on around say 500s or thousands of ranks just because other non-deserving and reserved candidates, even if they are getting 0 marks, they have to be given seats. 0 marks, they just have to appear in the exam, fill the form, and that's it. Even if they get 0 marks, they have plenty of seats and they can grab a seat.
See, that's just pathetic. Honestly, I don't see how we can be this stupid and justify this kind of nonsense in a field like medicine. We have to be sensible and give the job to the person who's most qualified to do it. Otherwise, we are the losers. It's that simple. I'm so glad Dr. Aruna has the courage to say it like it is. And we need more doctors like her. We need more of our citizens to speak up and set this right. Because as it stands now, it's injustice. It's just pathetic that there's no seat even in dermatology for someone from the general category. That's just I'm
That is
disgusted,
one
sickened.
of the thing. Otherwise, there's so many other branches where there is no, not even a single seat for general category in very good esteemed institutes. So general category student has no right to study in these institutes. No right. There, even if they have good marks, they have better marks than OBC or other reserved category, but they have no seat. And zero number, even if they have zero number, they are getting that seat.
See, that's another horrific scenario. Yuck.
And I
I'm
don't
so
know which government is going to change. Like if some governments, no government is coming forward to change, and we are taking our country downhill. We would be we would be responsible. The politicians of today would be responsible if country is going downhill, or if our education system is actually crumbling. It's like it's going into ruins. I don't know.
Thank you so much for your honesty, doctor, because I think 9 out of 10 people will be too scared to say this on record. Everyone, when we're sitting and gossiping over coffee or tea, we'll talk about these things openly, but nobody has the courage to put themselves out there and speak the truth to those in power. I'm really, really grateful to you for doing it. I hope your voice is amplified and I hope that a lot of people pay attention. As I said, this book deserves to be read, and Dr. Aruna's views definitely have to be heard all over this country. And not just heard, I hope action is taken on the basis of all the very, 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 very sensible points which she's put out there. So, thank you
So,
to all of you who joined us also.
do we have 1 minute?
Yeah, please, Doctor,
Okay.
just say what you.
So this story which you told, that one of the doctor uh, who died because of multi-drug resistant TB. The same thing in our books. It is written in PSM book that we are going to eradicate TB, and even today there is multi-drug resistant TB. Deaths because of malaria, deaths because of Japanese encephalitis and dengue, which are vector-borne diseases, which we can actually eradicate very nicely. It is so simple. There are so many countries in the world where these diseases do not exist, and we are dying every season because of malaria, dengue, Japanese encephalitis, and tuberculosis. And we were reading in our books that we are going to eradicate these diseases by 2020. Health for all by 2020. And they still exist and still we are dying.
Yeah, I think you mentioned this. This is some of the actual the lived experience of working in some of the hospitals. I think in Mangalore you outlined it at length when you were doing your postgraduate
You
studies.
remember
You
each and
mentioned
every line.
you mentioned all those yucky puddles over there, and all these I mean, all these patients who are already vulnerable, and you need
Hmm.
sterile environment, right? So, and you mentioned how they are all susceptible to malaria and the encephalitis and all the dengue, all of it which you mentioned. So, basic hygiene also is something which we just don't bother with in India. I think all of us are particular about keeping our homes spick and span, but you go outside, these vector-borne diseases you mentioned, which could be easily prevented, we are just like, yeah, let's see. So thank you
Thank you
again.
very much.
I
Thank you.
really, really love talking to you. Hope we can meet someday. Lovely session with
Yeah,
you.
looking forward. Yeah. Thank you
Thank you to
very much.
all the
Thank
viewers also. And thank you to Kalinga Lit Fest for this very lovely opportunity to talk with such a role model for women. Thank you.
Thank you, Anuja. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Can we wrap it up, or where are you guys? Sitanshu?
I think you must have slept.
No, I don't think so. I think it's the tech stuff, no? We're live streaming. Anyway, I don't mind. I have a lot of personal, I mean, I just can keep talking about this book forever. It's just that I didn't want to like go on and on. People should read it, I feel, to truly get it. I didn't want to give away too many spoilers. Like,
Yeah. But it's each and every story, see, when I was writing also, like digitalizing them again, again, every time I cried. I cried every time I read those stories. And even today, many a times when I go for authors interaction and people ask me to read story, the last paragraph, I every time I'm reading, I get choked, and I ask somebody else to finish the story because I don't know, because I have seen these women. They just come live in front of me, and I again go back to the same day when I was delivering them, and I started crying. So there was that lady who was with us for 9 months in the corridor, and I was holding her baby when she was taking her last breath. Every time I read, I cry. I can see her face, and I don't know why people think that doctors do not have heart or they just forget about their patients. We remember each and everything. Each and every case haunts us. Each and every patient is dear to us. And we feel pain. And when we go home, it's so difficult to forget about patients. So I think
that was a very
the,
heartbreaking case. Even at many points, I was triggered. And you also mentioned that nurse, no, the very good-looking Muslim nurse, Arifa or
Arifa,
some. Yeah, that
Arifa.
was so that that's not something you forget in a hurry. No, what a terrifying, terrifying case it
Yeah.
was.
So she was
And
so
I could tell
beautiful.
that you were so, yeah, you're so invested in, emotionally invested in your patients also. So,
Even
and you go
today,
so far and above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to taking care of them. So, it was like the girl you mentioned who was in the hospital all those months, and you'll all got to know her. It was a it
yeah.
was even I had tears in my eyes at various points in the book, and even the superstitions you mentioned, no, like feeding honey when, well, for 6 months, ideally you should give only mother's milk because you don't want the baby's immune system to get compromised. But it's so hard to tell people that, especially the elders in the family, they mean well, and they'll say we've done
Yeah.
this for generations.
So it is very difficult to bring both the generations at the same track, because younger people think that Google or Instagram is good, and or the whatever doctor has said. So we have to actually bring both the generations together. So in every antenatal now visits, I ask, even during those days, I used to tell that mother-in-law should also be
Yeah,
with you, or
yeah,
mother, so that at least whatever I'm telling, she should understand that, because when you go home, you just tell half of the story, and they think that we as a gynecologist are bad. We would want cesarean only. We are asking
yeah.
not to have ghee because we don't want you to deliver naturally. But it is like if you'll be having ghee because you're not working at all, you're not physically active or not doing any exercises, it would increase your BP, or you'll gain unnecessary weight and you won't be able to deliver naturally. So in those days, because those girls were your grandmothers or mothers were doing household chores and they could digest ghee, but now they try to give the same nuskha to you, that okay, you should have ghee and you would deliver naturally, but you are absolutely not physically active. So unnecessary, instead of gaining 11 kgs or 13 kgs, you gain 20 kgs of weight, and then but natural chances of normal delivery goes down. But then you do not tell, like if you do not bring your mother-in-law, I cannot explain that to her that instead of ghee, I would be giving her castor oil and she would deliver naturally, or ask her to do squatting every day. So I think every girl should bring their mother-in-law or mother to antenatal visits so that we are on the same page and we act as a team for good health of mother and natural birthing or breastfeeding or postpartum care of mother.
Yeah. Um, and I think you also mentioned those dyes, those midwives, who kind of do a lot of damage, and then the doctors have
Mm.
to clean up at the last minute, and they kind of get blamed. Like you said, you get a lot of flack for uh, C-sections, and they say doctors are just out to, you
Mm.
know, rob you blind or whatever. So you mentioned that there's a lot of misconceptions even
Mm.
now, but that's an education thing, I'm guessing.
Nowadays, see, those are government hospitals and guys who never trusted educated doctors, and they thought that they are, because they have been in this business of delivering or seeing deliveries, they know better than doctors. And nowadays, there is another trend which is called Japa wait. They would bring this Japa to look after the baby, the newborn, and because throughout the night mothers do not want to be up feeding their child, so they would want to sleep a little, and japa would take care of their child or newborn baby. But these japa also come with and lots of orthodox knowledge or wisdom, and then they start undermining uh, uh, mothers. This immediately, who has delivered immediately, this postpartum period is so vulnerable and sensitive. But these jappers, they would start undermining their confidence that your milk is so thin, you're not getting enough milk, or your tummy is out, or your baby is crying because you ate that, your baby is not sleeping on your feet because you're not getting enough milk and all. And we should massage your baby, your baby is weak, and they start massaging and pulling the elbow, or dislocating shoulder of baby's shoulder. Um, and all these, like, silly, because they have been paid good, they think that this kind of wisdom would they would impart this kind of wisdom and it will please the new parents. But we have it is so difficult, because why we are asking them to bring your mother or mother-in-law so that we are on the same page, but then you bring japa, and we have not met japa,
Mm.
and now your mother and mother-in-laws are actually now sane and they are with you, but now Japa is doing the same for which we didn't want you to go through. And then again, the same story, your confidence is gone, you are not able to feed your baby because you think that Japa is right, you're not producing enough milk, and Japa is the one who's taking care of your baby instead of you, because you're not confident.
Mm.
So this is new fashion nowadays. These new couples are getting into, and I tell them, okay, even if you have to get the japa, bring japa to me. I'll first give her influenza vaccine, vaccine for chickenpox, vaccine for tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis, so that she is fit to take care of your baby. And then I'll tell her that all, what all, how to treat the baby, how gentle she should be with the baby when she's massaging, when to give bath to the baby. Baby should not be bathed for at least first 1 month. So all those things. So now this is another task on gynecologists to teach Japa, because otherwise my postpartum patient would be would go into depression.
At the beginning of the session, if you remember, the doctor said she just come off a shift. So it's been so lovely of her to do this in-depth discussion with us. So I won't push you anymore. I won't test your patience anymore, doctor. Thank you so much. Once again, I recommend to all the viewers, please do read I Want a Boy. It's absolutely essential reading. And thank you very much, doctor. And thank you, KLF, for this lovely
Thank,
platform.
thank you, Anisha. Thank you, KLF. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice night. Bye.